humble, but he is against the proud. He resists the proud. James 4:6. He resists the proud, but he gives grace to the humble. Some of you would say, well, if you are as good as I am, you'd be proud too. Well, not so much. Not so much. Everybody has something to offer. Everybody has a contribution to make. And so let's not look down on others. God hates that. He hates haughty eyes. God hates that. The second thing he says is a lying tongue. God hates a lying tongue, verse 17. A lying tongue, a liar. Lying is also characteristic of the devil. He is called in John chapter 8 the father of lies. He is the father of lies. He comes to the garden in Genesis chapter 3. When we meet him, he asks the question of Eve, has God said? So he raises a question concerning God. Has God said that you shouldn't eat from any of the trees? And Eve straightens him out. Oh, no. Not from any tree, it's just one of them. And if we eat from that, we'll surely die. And then the serpent says, you surely will not die. He lied. He said, you surely will not die. Your teeth might get on edge, but you won't die. You won't die from that fruit. He's a liar. He's the father of lies. And God hates it when people lie. The first one was pride. The second one is an issue of integrity. Not being honest. Not being honest. Do you know a liar? Do you know a liar? I know a few. Lying is close to home, isn't it? Because we've all lied, right? We lie to cover ourselves. We lie. God hates a lying tongue. By the way, the things that he hates, they're being presented here as body parts. Body parts. Haughty eyes, a lying tongue. We lie for various reasons. We lie to cover ourselves. We lie to get other people into trouble. We break something and prop it up, knowing that somebody else is going to come behind us and touch it. Oh, you broke that! When you broke it. But you set somebody else up. God hates a lying tongue. He hates that. He hates haughty eyes, a proud look, and he hates a lying tongue. A lying tongue, can you say God hates that? A lying tongue. God hates that. Haughty eyes. God hates that. The third thing, hands that shed innocent blood. Eyes, the tongue, the hands. Hands that shed innocent blood. Whereas pride, haughty eyes, when God looks and sees that, he hates that. It shows who man really is, that he's just dust and he is elevating himself. But when it comes to number 3, hands that shed innocent blood, it's a focus on who man is positively, that he is made in the image of God. Innocent blood. God hates hands that shed innocent blood. One of the commandments, one of the 10 commandments is you shall not murder. Exodus 20 and verse 13. You should not murder. You should not kill another person. When it talks about innocent blood, it's without cause. There is no cause, no justifiable cause for this to take place. We hear the word regularly now, gun violence. Gun violence. Gun violence. People are shooting, killing people regularly, like it's the wild, wild west. Part of that is due to the fact that we do not value life as God does. Everybody deserves respect because he or she is made in the image of God. You are some nother simply because you are made in the image of God. You are made in the image of God. When you read about God's creation, there's only one that's made in the image of God. That's mankind. He is made in the image of God. So when you see another human being, that person sitting by you, your children, your parents, your coworkers, your neighbor, that person is made in the image of God and is due respect. Simply by being human. We bear the image of God. Know what Genesis 9:6 says. Genesis 9:6 talks about the point of murder. It says, whoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood shall be shed. Why? For in the image of God he made man. In the image of God he made man. Most everything, animals included, animals, they respect man. They sort of stand in awe of man. Man approaches, and most times they will distance themselves. Man is respected. But somewhere, we've lost that. We've lost common respect for people. And so it's easy to pull the trigger. It's easy for one person to shoot another person. That's the way we settle arguments today. No respect. No respect for humankind. God hates hands that shed innocent blood. He hates it. Man is made in the image of God. He is an image bearer of God. Hands that shed innocent blood, God hates that. God hates that. We have the eyes, the tongue, the hands, now the heart. God hates a heart that devises wicked plans. A heart that devises wicked plans. The heart, we talked about, is the control center. It's the central office of you. It's the core of you. It's where you make up your mind. It's where you decide. There are some people right now planning on the next edition of the smartphone. They're giving themselves to that right now. It's coming. You'll hear about it. There are some people right now devising plans for the next Mercedes, what it will look like. They're at the drawing board right now devising plans of that. There are some architects who are designing the next array of homes. They will have these features. They are somewhere devising plans right now. And just as there are people devising plans for the smartphone and devising plans for the next car and devising plans for the next home, there are those who are devising plans for evil. They are at control center in their heart. They are making plans. They're looking at what can I do and what can I lead other people to do in an evil way. They are there. They are out there and they are working. And it used to be that you pretty much had to do something to somebody for them to do wrong to you. Not anymore. You can just be at the gas station pumping gas. Pew! And you're gone. You didn't do it. You didn't even know the person. There are those who devise wicked plans. And if we're not careful, we'll be caught in them. God hates the heart that devises wicked plans. A heart that devises wicked plans, God hates. The eyes, the tongue, the hands, the heart, the feet. God hates feet that run rapidly to evil, who run rapidly to evil. When I was a little boy, we used to walk to church. We walked about 3 miles to church. And on one of those Sundays, there were two girls who liked the same guy. And they met to fight. One was little but older. One was bigger but younger. And in coming from church, walking from church that Sunday, I came upon the fight. And the big girl pretty much demolished the little girl. But there were people gathered all around. Everybody was gathered around, egging on the fight. But it messed me up so much that I can't stand to see fights today. I was little, but when it comes to fights, I have what do you call it? PTSD. I literally get a bad taste in my mouth. I mean, it's like some chemical is released, and I feel a bad taste in my mouth. Everybody's not like that, though. There are some people who, they say, somebody's fighting. Oh, let me go see, child. I run the other way. And there are people who, if you say, let's do this and it's bad, you can find a group that can do the bad with you. It says God hates feet that run quickly or rapidly to evil. Whether it's part of a gang or whether it's egging on people to do wrong. God hates that. God hates that. Anytime there's a fight, usually there's a crowd around in it. Already, and right now, I left my phone down there, but they're filming it. They're filming it, and they're going to post it. You're on the wrong side of God when you're doing that. God hates feet that run rapidly to evil. Evil. God hates it. So, feet that run rapidly to evil. God hates that. Number 6 involves the tongue also. A false witness who utters lies. A false witness. God dealt with this in the commandments too, in Exodus chapter 20 and verse 16. It says, "You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor." You should not bear false witness against your neighbor. A false witness, a person to lie on another person. To say, I saw this person do this, but they didn't do it. Or better yet, you didn't even see it. You made it up. God hates that. God put that in the commandments. When you become a nation, these are the things you should do. You should honor the Lord. You shouldn't take his name in vain. But you also shall not be a false witness. Don't be a false witness. Do you know that this is one of the things that they did with Jesus? They put forth false witnesses concerning Jesus to try to prove that he was guilty to be crucified. We read this in Matthew 26, verse 59 through 61. It says, "Now the chief priests and the whole council kept trying to obtain false witness against Jesus, so that they might put him to death. They did not find any, even though many false witnesses came forward. But later on, 2 came forward and said, 'This man stated, I am able to destroy the temple of God and to rebuild it in 3 days.'" So they put forth false witnesses to try to get Pilate to say, "He's guilty. He's guilty. He's guilty." False witness. Maybe you have been a false witness. Ask God to forgive you. There are people serving out prison sentences due to false witnesses. They said, "This is the person," or "This person was there," and they were nowhere around. And they have lost their freedom because of a false witness. What if you were on the other end of a false witness? What if it were you the one serving the sentence? What if it, like Jesus, they're lying on Jesus. They're being a false witness on the Son of God. And there are people suffering the backlash, the outcome of a false witness. God hates that, and we should hate it too. So, a false witness who utters lies. God hates that. And then number 7, one who spreads strife among brothers. A troublemaker. Spreads strife. Take a little something and begin to share it. Sometimes a private conversation, they'll put their twist to it and say, "You know what Jack said? You know what he said about you?" Just to separate you. Sometimes to get you to side with them. But spreading strife or division, starting trouble. God hates that. God hates that. There's a person that God talks about, the Scripture talks about, particularly in the New Testament, and it's one who gossips. A gossiper often spreads strife. They can't keep a little news. It's so juicy. They can't keep it long. They finish talking, it's time to get, they pick up that phone. "Girl, guess what I just heard?" And we're messing people up. We're causing strife. Causing people to hate each other, stirring up trouble. God hates that. God hates that. Now, if God hates these things, we ought to hate them too. We ought to hate them too. And so what is happening? Solomon has observed people in society. And we can observe them too, that in a society there are different kinds of people. And what he is doing here, he's singling out 7. And not only does he see the trouble they cause in a community, but he sees it in light of God, how God views it. And when God looks upon it, it makes God sick. You don't see the word hate associated with God much, but there are some things that he hates. And he hates the things that are listed here, these 7 things. Because they hurt people, they hurt communities, they hurt cities, they hurt states, they hurt nations, they hurt churches. Some of these things are right in the church. God hates it. We should hate it. We should not be a part of it. So the one who spreads strife among brothers, God hates that. These 6 things, he has pretty much mentioned them already in the verses above, starting at verse 12. Note the body parts. Verse 12, a worthless person, a wicked man, is the one who walks with a perverse mouth, who winks with his eyes, who signals with his feet, who points with his fingers, who with perversity in his heart continually devises evil, who spreads strife. Therefore, his calamity will suddenly come. Instantly, he will be broken, and there will be no healing. There are 6 things which the Lord hates. Yes, 7, which are an abomination to him. Haughty eyes, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that run rapidly to evil, a false witness who utter lies, and one who spreads strife among brothers. God hates that. Father, we read these things, and for many of us, we know names that go with these particular 7 things. Some of us have been the objects. We have been on the receiving end of the bad things. I pray for myself and for this congregation that our hearts would be in tune with yours, that we would hate the things that you hate and love the things that you love. Help us not to be a party of any of these 7 things, but that our eyes and our tongues and our hands and our feet, our heart, every part of us would be surrendered to you, would be presented to you as instruments of righteousness. We thank you that forgiveness is available to us for having participated in these kinds of things. But having heard your word today, I pray that you would help us to be set free from patterns that we have had. Help us to be a part of the beloved community, that we would have love for our brothers and sisters, and be glad that we are part of your family. We thank you for accepting us, for accepting the likes of us. Sometimes we are proud and think we are all that. But thank you for reminding us that we are but dust. And at the same time, we thank you for informing us that we are made in your image. So help us to have respect for human beings and for human life. For those who are old and gray, for those who are still in the womb, the unborn. We're blessed above all of your creation for having been made in your image. Help us to represent you well as your image bearers. And now the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Have a great week.